guest. We have him each and every week around this time, and he provides us with, there is a world out there, Hunter, outside the old Cape Atlantic League. There's a bigger, broader area of South Jersey, and we try to touch on that each and every week with our next guest, Kevin Minnick, as he joins us now. Hi, Kevin. How you doing on this Saturday?
I'm doing well, Pete. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. It was nice to see you and get our picture taken together at Stockton last Saturday. You, me, McGarry, 3 pillars. Well, 2 pillars and a base in the middle at Cape Atlantic League basketball there.
Yeah, I told you we'd take care of it, so I'm glad everything worked out.
Yeah, we had a good time. Let's start with that since, last week we were only able to preview some of the games. And what took place there, the girls' game, fine, but the boys' game, when I got off the air last week, Mike Gill had a conversation with me. He and I had breakfast together, and he said, I think that Wildwood Catholic's going to kill him. And he was right.
Well, yeah, to put it bluntly, they did put a little beating on him again. And, I think, if you look at St. Augustine, it's not the same St. Augustine team I think a lot of people are used to. They're young. They were still a very young team. I mean, I know it's late in the season, and that's probably an excuse at this point in time. But if you look at it, it's a bad matchup for St. Augustine against Wildwood Catholic. They do have some younger kids. They do have some guys that just don't match up well with what Wildwood Catholic has to offer, and that just goes to show the separation between Wildwood Catholic and the rest of that league this season. For the most part, they had a couple blunders, here and there, but I still think in the end, Wildwood Catholic showed its true colors, and wins that game by, I think it was 31 points. So. St. Augustine, they're getting better. They're playing better. They had a nice win last night in the tournament against Bishop Eustace, and you just have to take it for what it is. This particular season, and much like the last two, I guess, Wildwood Catholic is clearly the class of the Cape Atlantic League.
Kevin Minnick with us talking about boys basketball to start with, and yes, St. Augustine. Last night, you said spreads the wealth. I said sharing is caring. I think McGarry used the phrase balanced attack. They had 7 players that hit the scoring column last night, and that seems to be their recipe to success.
Yeah, if you look at them, and I've seen them a few times now, and the thing with that particular team is there is no real one kid you'd look at and say, okay, he's the guy that carries this team. During the course of last night's game, different kids had their moments, so to speak, at different points in the game. Keith Palick had a huge first quarter, and then pretty much became a rebounder for the rest of the game. And Marco Jackson had his quarter where he scored, I think it was 6 or 8 points, and Kevin Foreman did the same thing. So, that's a basketball team that, has to have all of its pieces lined up to win, and every guy has to do his job and fulfill his role. And if they're going to be successful, that's the way they have to play, because they don't have a Taj Sweet, so to speak, to lean on. They have to work together. For their puzzle to be complete, every piece has to fit, and that's just the way it is for that particular team this year.
Kevin, we're in that time now where every day it seems there's a different playoff game to go to. In fact, you tweeted out it's Super Saturday in high school basketball. There's great semifinal matchups all over the place. Check one of them out. What are some of the great semifinal matchups that you're talking about?
Yeah, today is going to be today's groups 2, 4, and non-public B. So we'll have a semifinal with 2 semifinals and 4 today. Featuring 2 Cal teams in each game with, EHT and their Cinderella story, so to speak, going up against Cherry Hill East at noon today in one Group 4 game, and then at 6 o'clock Atlantic City will come up to Lenape and play the other Group 4 semifinal. And I think if you look at Group 4 in particular, I think Group 4 of all the brackets was the most open. You could really just throw a blanket over the whole entire group, and whoever came out, you wouldn't be surprised with, because there was no, and I still don't think there was a dominant team in Group 4. But, obviously I think the story in 4 right now is the play of EHT for a 16 seed, a sub 500 record to go on the road and then knock off the number 1 seed in Toms River North to open the tournament. Really had to open up a lot of eyes. Toms River North had been had its moments during the course of the season. I think they were in the state top 20 maybe once or twice during the season, and you really don't expect a 16 to go into a 1 and come away with a W. It just doesn't happen all that often. But the HT's got it done. They win the second round game, and here they are, playing in a sectional semifinal. So, if they can control Cherry Hill East's 3-point shooting, which no one has been able to do so far, I think they could be right in the game. But they can't allow Cherry Hill East to bomb away from 3. And once that team gets on a roll from there, it could be good night. But like I said, the EHT I think is the story right now in 4, and it's great for them and great for their program that they've taken advantage of the situation.
And how about Atlantic High? Once again, I think they only allowed 3 second-half baskets the other night against Cherokee. Once again, we're in March. Once again, the Vikings are using their defense to win basketball games.
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, and anybody who's followed Atlantic City over the years knows that it all starts with defense for them, and it's cliche sometimes, and a lot of teams and coaches will say it, but it certainly fits with Atlantic City because they don't have a lot of guys that score a lot of points and are what you would say are great shooters, but they do play tremendous defense. And if you can frustrate teams and you can create turnovers and get yourself easy baskets, easy layups in transition, you're going to be successful. And obviously Gene Allen's team has done that this year.
How about Wildwood Catholic in their path so far? They're really tough to beat at home, and as the 2 seed, they get to be at home at least through this game, right? And they've got Mater Dei tonight. Any chance of a Mater Dei upset?
I don't think so. Stranger things have happened, but Wildwood Catholic gets the comforts of home. They've earned that right, and they've done everything to put themselves in that position. And they're rolling right now. They're playing some very good basketball. I think the ups and downs of the regular season are in the past, and the confidence level of this team is now at a pretty good level. And they're playing some very, very good basketball. They'll get the last game, and then that sectional final will be played at Jackson Liberty. I believe it is on Wednesday, and anything can happen there. They took Rowdy to overtime last year. Rowdy went on to win the Tournament of Champions, so they can continue to play well, and anything can happen. And obviously Tosh Sweet and Jaleel White have been the catalyst for that team, but I think anyone who's watched Wildwood Catholic enough will also attest to the fact that if Jacob Hopping is on his game and really gives them that third option offensively that they so desperately need at times, they can be a very, very difficult team to beat. So, I give them every chance in the world to get back to the final and possibly find a way to get it done this year.
Kevin Minnick, our guest here on the Pete Thompson Show. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at @KMinnick Sports. That's KMINNICK Sports, all smashed together, as he's with NJ Advanced Media, NJ.com. He is a must-follow on Twitter, especially on days like today, Super Saturday, he calls it. Now, we talked Group 4 and Group 3 boys, Kevin. You accurately pointed out the other night, hey, there's going to be a new Group 3 champion. Yeah,
Morristown hosted, I just drew a complete blank.
Cherry Hill West?
Cherry Hill West, yes, Cherry Hill West. A team that, during the course of the season had some ups and downs. I saw a Cherry Hill West team play against Bishop Eustis, and they didn't score a point in the third quarter of that game. So Cherry Hill West has, I think, come a pretty long way this year, and they go into Morristown. And from what I understand, won that game from wire to wire. And for a team to go into the top seed on the road the defending state champion, no matter who's back or who's not from that team, that says a little bit something about your program. And for West to go into Morristown and win that game, which looked like it was kind of convincing, is a great deal for Cherry Hill. And, that Cherry Hill School District will have two teams playing in very, very important basketball games. So, West has done a nice job. Aaron Bird has found a way to get those kids to come together, I guess, in the closing end of the season. And every coach will tell you, we want to play our best basketball when the tournament starts. And obviously Cherry Hill West has done that.
Cherry Hill West, and then they'll face Timber Creek. Your impression of Timber Creek this season?
Yeah, those two teams have played each other, and West knocked them off, but Creek was kind of a team, I think, coming into the year, which I thought would be the team to beat. And at some point it got to the point where Morristown kind of, I think, overtook them a little bit. But Creek has done what it's needed to do in the past couple of weeks. Obviously, it's got it done in the tournament, and they're a team that relies on three guys, but the supporting cast has done a real nice job as well. So if Timber Creek's going to get it done against West at home on Monday in this sectional final, I think their big guy, Demetrius Painter, is kind of the X factor for them. The kid's about 6'5". He's a pretty big kid, and does all his damage inside of the paint. So I don't know if West has anybody that can control him or match up against him. But if he gets the ball inside the paint and can get himself a double-double, I think Timber Creek has a real good chance of winning the game.
We're talking with Kevin Minnick about the boys' state basketball playoffs as they roll on today. He's calling it Super Saturday. By the way, that Cherry Hill West and Timber Creek game will be Monday, 5:30 at Timber Creek. So that's in Group 3. I saw your tweet, too, about Group 1 as Wildwood bows out of the tournament, but a good run for Wildwood as they fall and are out in Group 1.
Yeah, Wildwood, a program that has kind of been the road warriors the last 2 years. They were a 14 seed, I think it was, last season, and found itself in the sectional final. And this year, I believe that they were a 6 seed this year. Yeah, 6 seed, and they win a home game, but then they go on the road and knock off a Woodstown team. I think everybody thought was a little bit better than Wildwood. But then Wildwood runs into Penns Grove last night, and Penns Grove, Penns Grove was my pick for South 1 at the beginning of the season, and they've done nothing, this year to kind of take me off of that. They're a team that's very athletic. They got two super guards in Kayvon Lewis and Jamar Johnson. If a Group 1 program has a big guy, that's a bonus factor, and they do have one in Jalen Newton. So, they're a team that, like I said, I thought would get there, and they're going to go. They're going to take on a Lindenwold team, which, in all honesty, really has surprised me in the postseason. Tazir Canty, he was the state's leading scorer this year. Suffered an ankle injury in the opening minutes of their season finale, and he has not played since. And his foot's been in a boot, and he dislocated his ankle. And I don't think the kid will play in the championship game, and if he does, obviously will not be at 100%. But they've had a kid in a junior guard named Eric Campbell, who in this tournament has just taken his game to an MVP level. And each night it seems like his numbers and his performance has been better than the night before. And he takes them to 3 victories in this tournament, including last night's win over Gloucester. And really has kind of just put that team on his back and carried them. And, Group 1 is a little bit different than other groups. If you have one kid who is a dominant player and who can really get things going, you have a chance to win a ball game. And, that doesn't often happen in Groups 3, Groups 4, and non-publics where the teams are a little, there's much more depth, to a squad. But he's done a fantastic job for them. And, obviously I think as far as momentum is concerned, Lindenwold couldn't ask for much more. So, it's going to be a tough task for them to go into Penns Grove and win that ball game. But if Eric Campbell, if he has one more performance in him like he's had so far, I give them a chance to be right there at the end.
Hey, Kev, you talk depth and dominance, and I did skip over Group 2 because there may be no more dominant team than the top seed in Group 2, and that's Camden. I'm just scanning the margins of victory. They won 100-41. That's 100 points in a high school game, 100-41 in their first round game. They won 95-44 in their quarterfinal game, and now they meet up with number 4 West Deptford, who's had to win by 3 at home against Middle Township and by 3 at home against Pleasantville. Now they have to go to Camden at 3 o'clock today and try to find a way to solve just a monster.
Yeah, Camden has it should be no surprise to anyone if you've seen Camden play. They're a team that has been number 1 in the state now for probably better than a month and a half, and I'm not surprised with what they've done in the tournament, and I will not be surprised if they drop another 90 points today. They had played West Deptford during the holidays, beat them by I think it was 35 or 37 points, and Rick Brunson called off the Dogs in that game. So if Camden, no disrespect to West Deptford, but I think if Camden wants to score 90 points today, they can, and it won't be that difficult for them to do. They are that much better, I think, than everybody else. And in that group, if you look at the other game, the other game should be a war between Haddon Heights and Haddonfield. Two Colonial Conference teams that, Haddonfield has been the 2-time defending state champion, and they've kind of been the nemesis for Haddon Heights for a long, long time. And Heights had them in the first matchup of the season and blew a 12-point lead in the last 2 minutes of the game to lose. Heights then, in the rematch went into Haddonfield, another tight game, and stretched it out and won by, I believe, about 8 points. So, Heights should go into that game knowing that they can win at Haddonfield. And, I think, whichever team comes out of there, having to probably go to Camden in Tuesday's sectional final will obviously have an uphill climb. But, this game today, between those two teams should be, really electrifying game. I expect, the gym at Haddonfield at 4 o'clock to be packed, and both student sections to be going back and forth at each other, and really fulfilling that playoff atmosphere that everyone loves to see at this point in time. So, like I said, yeah, Super Saturday for me, Pete. I think it's a big day. I'm really pleased. The thing that's probably most pleasing to me is the fact that these games got spread out during the course of the day. So you can't catch every one of them, but you probably could catch 2 or 3 if you really wanted to. So, we're gonna catch 2, and we're gonna try to get to a third. Ooh. But obviously today, it's the last day, and then once Monday comes rolling around, we're starting to play for the hardware. So I expect big crowds and tremendous action later today.
Yeah, you can't let McGarry top you. He's going to be at Middle Township and Haddonfield girls. That's a 1 o'clock start, and then he says he's going to number 3 Atlantic City, number 2 Lenape at 6. Where's Kevin Minnick going to be?
Kevin Minnick. People can follow me on Twitter. I will be at Cherry Hill East for the EHT game at noon.
Nice.
And then we're gonna hop down the road and we'll be at the Heights Haddonfield game at 4. And then by the time we get done from there and make our way to Lenape AC, it might be the second half, but we'll get in there for at least the second half and catch what probably should be a pretty thrilling game that I think the first team to 40 will be the winner.
Kevin Minnick, our guest here on the Pete Thompson Show. Before we let you go, you had one tweet, 15 hours ago, some movement in the South Central Group 1 and Group 2 state semifinals. What do you mean? This late in the game, they're moving locations? What's going on?
Yeah, they've for what reason I can't solidify, but they're going to move a couple games around, and the biggest move, I think, is the Group 2 game, state semifinal, South Central. They're going to move back from Perth Amboy to the Barnabas Arena at Toms River North. And, if I cannot say for sure, but if you look at the brackets and the teams playing, I think that there's a pretty good chance that 2 of the top teams in the state will be matching up in that game. And, to move that game to a much bigger arena,
okay,
is probably a wise decision. So, if it plays itself out, I think that's going to be a Camden-Manasquan game that I think a lot of people will be looking to go to, and a lot of people may, have the feeling that that's probably what would be the true state championship game, even though it's going to be a state semifinal. So we got to wait till today's over. We can't put the cart before the horse, as they say, but I think in preparation for that possibility, that move was put in there.
Well, Kev, when you're jetting from gym to gym and you're on your travels today, just know that the Atlantic High and Lenape game will be on 97.3 ESPN, so you can hit that button on your radio and tune it in to chart the progress as you wing your way there.
I will have it on as long as it comes in for me. I'm hoping it does, but we'll follow that so we know what's going on before we get there, and we can always rely on McGarry.